I've always liked math. Both engineering, you get to combine math with creativity.
So it's not like a straight path at Rose, which I really like, and that allows our creativity to kind of come in.
And I know it makes a difference in everyday life.
You'll never end up solving one single problem for the rest of your life.
And I don't think that people understand that there are many facets to not only engineering, but other programs that help make a well-rounded engineer.
Rose-Hulman Institute of Technology, a small Indiana college making a big imprint on science, engineering, and health around the globe. Meet the visionary behind this higher ed juggernaut nestled in the Wabash Valley. Rose-Hulman President Robert Coons, an Indiana native with a passion for learning, his confidence in the next generation of talent, and what's next at Rose. Hello and welcome to the Business and Beyond podcast presented by PNC. I'm Gary Dick. Rose-Hulman wasn't always known by that name, and it wasn't always open to both young men and women. Established in 1874 as Rose Polytechnic, it was renamed Rose-Hulman in 1971, due in large part to the Hulman family's contributions. The first women to walk on campus at Rose, well, that was 1995. When the school went co-ed. Nearly 30 years later, students from 48 states and 35 countries study at Rose. The school has built a reputation as a leader in educating future engineers in the workforce. U.S. News & World Report ranks it the #1 undergraduate engineering school in the country for 25 years running. Pleased to be joined on the podcast this week by Rob Coons, the president of Rose-Hulman Institute of Technology in Terre Haute, Indiana, a great institution of higher learning, continually ranked as the top private engineering school in the country year after year. Rob, how are you?
I'm good this morning. Good to see you.
Hey, I've got to ask you, students are literally back on campus now. For a university president, is this a invigorating, fun time, or is it about chaos or a mix of both?
No, it really is an invigorating. It's kind of the pinnacle of the year, at least one of those. There are 2 or 3 of those during the year. This is certainly one. And in our case this year, we are so excited because we have record enrollment. This is literally the first day of class. The first class period just ended. The sun's out, and it's a great day in Terre Haute, Indiana. So we're really happy.
Yeah, I know you are, and you mentioned it, celebrating a big incoming class. I believe just the 4th time in school history that you've had a class of more than 600 students. I know you're touting the academic achievements of this class and also the geographic diversity. Talk a little about the incoming class there at Rose.
So this year's incoming class are 605 students. And as you pointed out, this is the 4th time in our history we've had that large of a freshman class. Given all the challenges around the federal financial aid practice this past year and admissions, we are just so pleased and proud to be able to admit these wonderful students. Freshmen moved in last Friday. This is the first year in my 40 years in higher education where we've had literally no shows. So all 605 showed up. Really happy about that. And they're still here. So also happy about that. So classes started this morning. This group is one of the most diverse classes we've ever received here at Rose-Hulman, from not only a racial perspective, but from a geographical perspective, male and female perspective. We have 25% female, which in engineering is a respectable number. We're working to improve that, but we're really happy about that. From 18 different countries. So we have been working very hard, especially since COVID, to diversify the enrollment both domestically and internationally. So 18 different countries. The largest concentrations are from China and India. India is a growing population of students that we're really pleased with. They are very, very talented academically and are really doing well on our campus. So 17 Indian students in the freshman class this year is an example. But this class is really, really talented. We have a new scholars program called the Novice Scholars Program that we're in our 5th or 6th year of that program at this point, and 35 of those are in the freshman class as well. So really, really pleased with the academic credentials of this group, as well as the diversity of the group, and they're off and running. We had last night on campus, we had what we call Welcome Back Wednesday, and almost 100% attendance at that event. And it's just an opportunity to get everyone fired up and started for the academic year. So off to a good start.
It's certainly the lifeblood of any college or university is that, recruiting students and successful or good students as well. Is the recruiting process, given the competitive factors out there, getting tougher these days?
Much tougher. So Rose-Hulman has worked very hard. I've been at the institution quite some time, and we've worked very hard to try to continually improve the academic quality of our students. And the competitive nature of higher education, combined with the enrollment cliff and shrinking just available number of 18 to 24-year-olds, has made that whole process very competitive. And so for the last 3 years, we've set record numbers for total applicants, total admits, and then the yield off of that. So it has gotten very, very competitive for us. We have an amazingly talented enrollment management team and changed our focus about 5-6 years ago in terms of that process, has become much more sophisticated and much more data-driven historically than it had been. That's really served us well. But we are in rare air from a Rose-Hulman perspective in terms of the schools we're competing with for students. So MIT, Caltech, Carnegie Mellon, Case Western, those are our top competitors. And of course, Purdue for really quality students at Rose-Hulman. So really, really couldn't be more pleased with the results this year.
I was going to ask you about those competitive institutions, and you're right, you are in rarefied air. You mentioned the enrollment cliff, which is certainly a significant factor facing colleges and universities in this country. Fewer and fewer kids going to college, and that, I think, expected to peak in 2025. And it's a very serious situation. How are you addressing that? How are you taking that issue, that enrollment cliff, head on?
At Rose-Hulman's case, given that we're a bit more narrowly focused to begin with, so engineering, math, and science is what we do and all we do, but we feel like we do that well. But that limits the population to begin with in terms of students who are truly interested in STEM. And then furthering that, the decrease in the birth rate 18, 19 years ago is having an impact for sure. That's really increased the competitiveness, as we mentioned earlier. So what we've done is tried to start with a wider net. So we're reaching much more broadly across the country and across the globe than we have historically. So well over 6,000 applications this past year for 600 slots. And then beginning to work through the process of narrowing that field, it has become really, really challenging. What our mission statement says, individualized attention and support, and we take that literally in everything that we do. And so as far as the missions process, there's a lot of individualized interviewing, counseling with those individual students, making sure that Rose-Hulman is a good fit for them as well as for us. And so it's a pretty involved, pretty labor-intensive process. We've had some great success. Dr. Tom Baer is our VP of Enrollment Management, helped us create a new strategy around that process. We're in our 6th year, I guess now, doing an excellent job there.
Well, you got Rose-Hulman certainly has a great story to sell. No question about that. As mentioned, year after year, U.S. News and World Report, I think 25 straight years, #1 undergrad engineering school in the nation. I know your placement rate is, I think, off the charts. Give us the elevator pitch, if you will, for Rose-Hulman. I think most people in Indiana are familiar with Rose-Hulman, but I don't know that everyone understands the significance of the institution and really how significant it is.
From our perspective, our mission statement focuses on we want to be the world's best in undergraduate engineering, math, and science education in an environment of individual attention and support. And we feel that is really what distinguishes us as an institution. We're a small institution. We certainly have record enrollment this year, but still slightly over 2,300 students. We're competing with some of the best in the world. But our focus is individualized attention. So small class sizes, a faculty to student ratio of 14 to 1, small class sizes, and individualized experience. So fully minted PhD professors, no TAs in the mix. And our students, part of what they're coming here for is that attention, that opportunity to interact with some of the best in the world in their respective fields. And the ability to do that, to have access to those professors, to be able to walk into their office and ask a question. But our focus is undergraduate teaching. That's been our focus. We've doubled down on that, and it really has paid dividends. From a placement perspective, for the last 2 decades, we have averaged between 98 and 99% placement. We track every individual and student until they either say, stop, leave us alone, or take a job, or go to graduate school, or enlist in military leadership. So we're really proud of that, and it has been an area of focus. If you go back in our history, 3 decades or more, we started out as an institution that really was viewed as, for a lot of blue-collar students, the first white-collar job opportunity, and many first-generation college students. We still have a healthy number of those students, but that mix has changed over the years. But the mission statement has remained the same. And so we really think that's what differentiates us. We recognize that we are an expensive institution. Engineering education is expensive to deliver, and then the method that we use certainly is expensive as well. But we believe our track record in terms of placement and alumni success validates that investment. We've been in a number of rankings in the last few years, besides U.S. News and World Report, a few of those trying to categorize return on investment over the working life of an individual student. And we rank in the top 1% in the country in each of those. So we really feel like the investment's in the right place. Our students and families feel that as well. And those are really some of the basics of a Rose-Hulman education, Rose-Hulman experience.
Industry partnerships and connecting with business and industry to give students that hands-on experience always has been important. Is it even more important now? Talk about those relationships with industry and how they play an increasingly important role in higher education.
Yeah, the nature of that has changed as well. We've had success in recruitment, but that whole model has changed quite a bit. We average between 280 and 290 companies coming to campus physically here in a month each fall for a career fair. And that is to recruit our students. In the fall, they're recruiting for job placement. In the spring, they come back and recruit for internships for the summer. If you go back in our history, for many years, the major employers like Cummins and Lilly and Rolls-Royce were the companies that employed many of our graduates. That's certainly still true. But just as we talk about the diversity of our students, the diversity of our employers has changed dramatically. So today, that career fair will have those major employers, those I just mentioned, but also Tesla, Microsoft, Google. Those folks are physically here as well. We experimented with virtual career fairs during COVID, and actually the employers decided they preferred that personal interaction with our students. So by springtime, we have more companies interviewing for students than we have students available that have not already accepted a position. But the diversity of those employers has changed. So many large-scale employers continue. The number of companies, smaller companies that have grown interest in Rose-Hulman has increased pretty substantially. So much smaller companies are recruiting here for a couple of reasons. Certainly one being just the primary need for STEM-educated students, but the other being engineering design. We have a relatively new degree program that we added. I think we're in our 7th year now. In engineering design, the difference in that is the design concepts are experienced by the students in all 4 years. And what smaller employers in particular like about that program is it gives the individual students some depth and breadth in a variety of disciplines throughout their 4-year period. So from a small employer perspective, they like that diversity of student. And so we have more smaller companies and mid-size recruiting on campus than ever before.
Certainly, Rose's involvement in science, technology, engineering, and math, STEM education has extended beyond the campus into schools around, certainly the Wabash Valley. Continues to be a lot of conversation about the need to produce more STEM graduates to fuel that pipeline here in Indiana. Talk about your efforts, Rose's efforts in that regard, and how you see Indiana filling that pipeline? You look at the number of data centers and semiconductor companies that are investing now in Indiana, the need to fill that pipeline. How's Indiana doing?
As an institution, I've had the privilege of having conversation with both the governor and other leadership officials in the state in the last few years, talking about just that, how we retain more engineering graduates in the state. And in our case, in Rose-Hulman's case, our students graduate very well prepared, and many of them would enjoy and appreciate working in the state of Indiana if those opportunities existed. One of the major changes in placement in the last several years has been how companies use internships to make their hiring decisions. And I mention that because what we find is many of our students, if they have a meaningful internship at some point during their 4 years with an Indiana company, they're much more likely to stay in the state of Indiana. And internships are challenging to arrange, especially for mid and smaller employers, to put those programs together, programs that have substance. But more and more employers are recognizing that that is the way to really attract those graduates. In our case, again, I think we would have more students staying in the state of Indiana and enjoying that if they had those internship experiences here. So looking for ways to help companies, both at the state level and at the institutional level, have more internship opportunities is something we're working on in conjunction with the state. The state of Indiana added a new stipend, I think, a couple of years ago now. I think the total number is around $7,000 for students who graduate and stay in the state. The challenge with that is most of our students have made their decision about where to be employed long before graduation, and it was based on the internship experience. So tying that more directly to internships, I think, is part of the key to retaining more graduates in the state of Indiana. If you go back in our history 20, 30 years ago, a large concentration of our students were from the Midwest. That's changing dramatically as well. So this year, our class has students from 44 states across the country. And we still have a concentration in the Midwest, but it's smaller. It's more diverse. We have more students from our summer programs. Last summer, we had more students in a couple of those sessions from California than we did from Indiana. So that diversity in terms of recruitment is having impact as well. But those students also, if they've had valuable internship experiences in the state of Indiana while they're here, they're much more likely to stay in the state.
Certainly, Rose-Hulman Institute of Technology, the impact is extending beyond the campus. Many colleges and universities around the state of Indiana are reaching out, connecting with the communities in which they live with the help of Lilly Endowment. Rose is certainly one of those schools, and we'll talk about that and a lot more when the Business and Beyond podcast returns.
At PNC Bank, we're committed to making a difference in the lives of our customers and communities by helping them move forward financially. As a Main Street bank, we try to do right by our customers with every encounter. Our local teams offer personalized financial advice to help guide you in making the best decision. We're proud to be part of your community. PNC Bank. See how we can make a difference for you at pnc.com. Copyright 2022, the PNC Financial Services Group, Inc., all rights reserved.
And welcome back to the Business and Beyond podcast presented by PNC. My guest this week is Rob Coons, the president at Rose-Hulman Institute of Technology. Classes have just started back on the Terre Haute campus. A lot of buzz, a lot of excitement going on there. And Rob, you've been president at Rose, I think, since 2018, but you've been at the school for a long time, since 1989 in management and executive roles. Career educator, 40 years, I think I heard you say. What got you interested or passionate about education?
I grew up in Centerville, Indiana, around Richmond, and went to Centerville High School, went to IU, started out in public accounting, and had a great mentor early on who my goal in life early on when I was young was simply to live close to the beach. It was really simple. And he moved to North Carolina, and I said, if there's ever an opportunity, I'd be really interested. And he called within 6 months and said, well, here's your job. And it turned out to be a great experience for me. And it was at a small Presbyterian college in North Carolina. And I learned so much in that first 5 years and really grew to love the higher ed environment. What I like most about it, and now Rose-Hulman, is the small environment where you have lots of opportunity to get to know the people you work with. And at the same time, in Rose-Hulman's case, with such a successful institution, lots of opportunity to try different things. And I'm probably the case study for that in terms of having real opportunity for different types of leadership roles over the years. But my love for higher education just has grown over the years. And it's just such a vibrant environment to be a part of, to be around 18 to 22-year-olds every day who are excited about life, have a positive outlook on life, and have real thirst for knowledge. Rose-Hulman students in general are here to learn, and they're very focused on that. They love their college experience, but they are intently focused on their education, and that makes it just a really rewarding environment to be in. So those are primary reasons I've been here so long.
You've seen a lot of change at Rose-Hulman, the university. The environment certainly has changed from an all-male institution to a co-educational institution. I'm trying to remember back how long. It's been a while now. When did Rose go co-ed?
We officially went co-ed in 1995. It was approved by a board in 1991. So that debate was happening when I arrived at Rose-Hulman. And myself having two daughters, I think it's one of the best decisions the institution ever made. It really has broadened our horizons in so many ways as an institution. It's really been a good shift for us. But as higher education institutions go, we're relatively new at that. So 95 in terms of being co-ed. We've had some real great success. We've had some very successful female graduates and continue to move forward in that field and are really focused on increasing that percentage. Nationally, in higher education and engineering education, the average female enrollments are around 22%. We're right now at 25. We'd like that to be quite a bit higher, so we are focused on that. But from my perspective, being involved in this environment, there's just not a better place to be in terms of being around people who are bright, inquisitive, and positive about the world and the future.
You talk about broadening horizons. Certainly that's happening there at Rose-Hulman and at colleges and universities around the state with the help of Lilly Endowment. And where would we be without Lilly Endowment and the tremendous impact they continue to make throughout the state of Indiana? Butler, DePauw, Notre Dame, you can go on down the list of universities that are engaging in the communities in which they live with some very ambitious, interesting programs. Rose received, I think it was a $30.5 million grant from the endowment to create, among other things, Innovation Grove, which is an entrepreneurial district that will connect with the Wabash Valley and perhaps beyond. Talk about the initiative, Innovation Grove, and what it's all about.
To your point about Lilly Endowment, they've been extremely generous to higher education for a very long time, and especially to Rose-Hulman. And we've been a fantastic partner. We've really enjoyed working with them, and they've been so supportive. This latest grant initiative really was focused on the collaboration, taking the institutions across the state and the communities in which they lived, and encouraging, actually incentivizing the institutions to identify ways to collaborate with the community. And while Rose-Hulman has done a lot of that over the years in a variety of ways, this was a real focused effort. It was a real different type of grant application, a competitive grant, which was kind of new and unique for Lilly. And we rose to that challenge. So in our case, what we identified, we went through a 6-month period of gathering input from the entire Terre Haute community in the Wabash Valley. Anybody that would care to share their opinions about what Rose-Hulman could and should be doing to be helpful to the community and what the community needs were. And some of those are really obvious, and a lot of those are focused around economic development, creating jobs. And our challenge was really to identify the things that we think Rose-Hulman is very good at and have alignment with those needs. So where we ended up was creating what we call the proposal Trails to Innovation. As you mentioned, the award from Lilly was $30.5 million. The total investment in our community all in is a little over $100 million, $100.2 million over 5 years. And this grant also included a pretty substantial requirement for matching funds. So part of what the institutions had to do is not only pony up matching themselves, but also identify community partners. So in our case, where we ended up is creating what we're calling Innovation Grove. And that's taking Rose-Hulman Ventures, which was created actually by a Lilly grant about 20 years ago now, was founded in 2000, and constructing a new facility on the core of our campus. We acquired 1,100 acres from the Hulman family back in 2017, directly south of our core campus. And on the corner of that property at the intersection of State Road 42 and 46, we're constructing 2 buildings. The first of which is Rose-Hulman Ventures, so we're moving it to campus. We've had real success with that program over the years. We have anywhere from 100 to 125 students, depending on the year, engaged in that program. That program has really provides engineering services, but in a different way. So there's an educational component where students actually work with fully minted, in this case, project engineers, with companies on engineering projects. And they get a sense of what it's like to work with a company with a budget and a timeline and deliverables, and really a fantastic experience for students. We'd like to see more students have that opportunity. And so the initial phase was moving Ventures physically to campus. We think that'll create some access. We have an intense curriculum. The schedules are tight and challenging. And so we think this location will be helpful. But we also believe that locating it in this area, we have some space for expansion, and we're seeking to create what we are referring to as Innovation Grove. So an innovation campus, if you will, within the Rose-Hulman campus, and opening that up to the community. So as an example, in this new facility, there's dedicated community space. One of the partners we reached out to as a part of the grant was the Vigo County School Corporation, and they have a number of needs in the school corporation. And one of those that we have some synergy with is robotics. So our students currently are advisors for the robotics program at the high school level in Vigo County Schools, and they'd like to expand that to the middle school level. But they're short on space to actually have practice and competitions for middle school level kids involved in robotics. We have students and some faculty that are really keenly interested in that, very active in that field. And so this facility, one of the things that we'll have is dedicated community space available for Vigo County Schools and other community members. The largest partner in this project, one of the collaborative partners we identified, was Union Health. Union Health Systems is one of the largest employers in the region, and also doing an outstanding job, I believe, in providing comprehensive health care for the community and growing. And we have an alumni, Dr. Michael Menegany, who has become a joint replacement surgeon, is building a really successful practice, has a facility in Fort Wayne, is building one currently in Noblesville, and is a huge fan of not only Rose-Hulman, but his homestead community, Terre Haute, Indiana, and Union Health. So those 3 interests drew him to our project, and we'll be constructing an ambulatory surgery center adjacent to this Rose-Hulman Ventures building and connecting the 2. And there are a couple of things driving that. One is certainly Union is interested in some expansion on the east side of Terre Haute. But from a Rose-Hulman educational perspective, what it does is provide some direct access to our undergraduate students, especially those in biomedical engineering, to a process, an industry that is really growing within healthcare, and that's joint replacement. That industry is exploding across the country. There are a number of elements that are very nice, have very nice alignment with engineering in terms of materials and process. Dr. Menegany would suggest that one of the reasons he's been successful is having his undergraduate experience in engineering has led him to think about the surgical process differently. And he has been working on a project basis with Rose Ventures for a number of years. So we are super excited about having that facility adjacent. We also think it'll create some opportunity for other, perhaps medically related industries to consider locating there. So we have plenty of space to do that. And we think it provides some really unique opportunities for our undergraduate students.
In your view, what can this lead to? I mean, as you look from an economic development standpoint, as existing companies look to grow, but companies look to locate or relocate, and they look at Terre Haute and they see this and they see what's happening here. Can you see this as a spark to create investment and jobs down the road?
I do. I think that the Rose-Hulman has been a strong resource in this community for many, many years. But when I talk to people around the state about how we could be a little more integrated with providing economic support and economic development, finding ways in which we can be helpful there, because we're a smaller institution, we're trying to establish what is our unique approach to that. We think creating this innovation district creates a center where companies will be interested. As an example, Intech, which is a battery plant that has announced their location here in Terre Haute in the industrial park, we've had the CEO of that company here on campus and some real excitement around being able to integrate some work that they do in their plant with our engineering faculty and some of our students. So if you think about the location of Innovation Grove being kind of at the north end of State Road 46 that runs down to Ivy Tech and then the industrial park, you can start to think about long-term the development of an innovation corridor with industry at the southern end of that and Rose-Hulman at the northern end of that as a real strong STEM resource to those industries. So I think we have an opportunity to create some resources that really can be valuable to a variety of different industries, the medical industry being one, but a number of other industries as well. Steel Dynamics is also located in that industrial park, and we have some strong ties to Steel Dynamics, and some of our engineering students have become employees of that particular company, and that company is growing and developing as well. So I really think there's some nice opportunity to create innovation space that our faculty will have opportunity to interact in a variety of different levels with industry than they might have in the past, and our students as well. But really providing that unique experience at the undergraduate level is what our core focus is.
Certainly lots of excitement at Rose-Hulman Institute of Technology and more broadly in Terre Haute, some exciting times that I know Rob will be covering in the weeks and months ahead. Really appreciate you taking the time to join me on the podcast this week and look forward to seeing you soon.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
And thank you for joining us on this episode of the Business and Beyond podcast. We are a weekly conversation with achievers in business, sports, entertainment, and beyond. And you can download all of our episodes and get Indiana business news 24/7. All you have to do is go to InsideIndianaBusiness.com. I'm Gary Dick. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time.